weirdos!
Weird science is
Learn
a
this
revolution. Weird science
It
is
rhymes
a
with
revolution.
Kex-Men.
Welcome, all you weirdos, Savage Land mutates, and everyone who has recently been made super extra powerful by eternity, which is a surprising number. Prepare to receive your 132nd Weird Dose of X, the mutant member of your Weird Science podcast family. I am your Snow Day host, Jason, broadcasting as always from the Wrong Turn studio perched high atop stately Weird Science Tower. And with me today for a brief time before he goes back to his usual main job of delivering dumplings is my pal Ruben. Hey Ruben, how the heck are you today?
Oh, we're not delivering the dumplings. We're going to eat the dumplings.
Oh, okay. You're going to have them right there?
Yes, at Dozone.
Sounds good. I thought you were delivering them to your daughter, but you're bringing your daughter to the dumplings.
Yeah. We're catching
like the mountain
the light
to
rail.
Muhammad, the Muhammad to the mountain, get them hot and fresh. That's probably the way to go.
Much better that way, yep.
So we are going to try to get through this as quickly as possible. So today we are going to skip this week's Infinity comic, but I do want to note, hey, there is an Infinity comic coming back this week. Don't know if that week off was intentional, a delay somewhere, but it's back, and it's being written by Tim Seeley, which is kind of neat. What we are going to talk about today is we're going to talk about Exceptional X-Men number 5, and we're going to talk about Storm number 4, and then we're going to get the heck out of here. But before we actually go into that, Ruben, I did want to ask you, did you read Ultimate Wolverine number 1? We're not going to review it.
Yes.
The guys over on the non-X-Men podcast did a thorough job on that. But I did want to ask, what did you think of Ultimate Wolverine?
It was pretty lame. Lame to infuriating for me. I think the character looks, I guess, okay to cool, and I enjoy seeing how it's like tied into the Russian mutant nation.
Right.
But
very much tied in with the Maker side of things, not at all connected with Peach Momoko's Ultimate X-Men as far as I can tell.
Yeah, no, not at all.
Although there is a character in Ultimate X-Men who's very Wolverine-y and says his name is Akihiro. So you think there's got to be a connection there somewhere.
Yeah, at some point. But I wasn't a big fan of them just killing Nightcrawler and Mystique sort of arbitrarily. Two very cool characters. Gratuitous. Yeah.
I get they're doing the Winter Soldier thing, but the Winter Soldier only starts to become interesting when he begins to break out from being the Winter Soldier, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, Logan has no dialogue in this whole issue. He's just a silent killer. Yeah. And that can be okay as an antagonist. You know, that's the person your main character is opposing, trying to catch. But I don't think you can have a whole series based around a silent killer. So I would think that the story has to take a turn pretty darn quick to get him breaking out of this conditioning. And maybe when that happens, it starts to get interesting. But until that point, yeah, I think I'm with you and with Jim and Matt that this was not really what I was looking for in a Wolverine comic.
Yeah. It could be better. Oh, wow. I mean, it can evolve into something better, but
of course, it was a real waste of Nightcrawler and Mystique there, just to gratuitous. And having him do it in his very much the priestly version of Nightcrawler, and while he's praying, I thought that was just gratuitous.
Yeah, made me think a bit of the Wolverine revenge story that we just had, and it's like, how many Wolverine kills everybody stories do I need to read?
probably just the one, really. Yeah, they take care of it. All right, let's go into a comic that has no killing. Well, we'll get to that. No current day killing whatsoever, and that is Exceptional X-Men number 5, written by Eve L. Ewing, art by Carmen Carnero, colors by Nolan Woodard, and letters by Travis Lanham. So I have a new metaphor for this comic, Ruben. Are you ready? Exceptional X-Men is like a steaming hot plate of beets. Okay, so let me explain. By which I mean, I know
Nobody
some
likes
people
it.
like beets. I've learned to love. I was a very picky eater as a kid, but as a grown up, I've learned to enjoy pretty much every vegetable out there. Brussels sprouts, all kinds of beans. But beets to me just taste like dirt, and I'm never going to like them. I could go to a 3 Michelin star restaurant and have the best beets ever made. I'm still going to say that's some really fancy dirt.
If you pickle them and they just taste like vinegar, they're all right.
Sour dirt. Yes, I've had them.
Not even a fan of that. No. I think that's okay on salad, but yeah, typically I agree with you. Beets are not the greatest.
So what Exceptional X-Men is, it's a slice of life story about Kitty's relationships with, these new recruits, with Emma, with Bobby, and with various other people around Chicago. And I'm just never going to care about any of that. Right? I know some people do. Some people enjoy eating dirt-flavored vegetables. Just not me. So with that in mind, I try to create a distinction, at least in my mind, understand a distinction between like an objectively bad comic. Like we've cut Laura Kitty Wolverine #2 out from this program, but I think that's just objectively badly done versus Exceptional X-Men, which is, I think it's reasonably well done. It's just not what I would order off the menu.
Yeah, I'm a little disappointed with Exceptional X-Men. I had subscribed to it, and after this issue, I canceled my subscription. And I was thinking that what was happening was we were getting the sort of anime style of storytelling, where it's like, hey, you got to get to know the characters first. I'm like, okay, I'm on board. And now I'm kind of convinced that what you're describing is more accurate, that there will not be any sort of real conflict. To the extent there is, it'll be resolved pretty quickly, and mostly this is just, hey, let's talk to teenagers about being teenagers.
There are some hints that coming up in the next couple issues. Maybe we're going to get a character we really kind of like, but if it's going to be handled with the same, if this book continues to be what this book has been through 5 issues, which, I think that sets a pretty strong precedent, it's probably not going to be what I'm looking for. But we'll get there. So last month, Kitty got into an argument with Bobby and blurted out that, hey, I've killed a bunch of people. Did this loud enough for the teens to hear, which seemed to upset them reasonably enough. Once again, I gotta say, wait till I find out what Emma's done. That never comes up. I really think that should come up here because Emma's done, I don't know about worse things than Shadowcat Kitty.
I'm pretty sure she has. When we say
with less justification, at least.
Yeah, we talk about Shadowcat killing people, but I'm pretty sure Emma's killed a lot more people.
Yeah, Shadowcat, you can use that. What Arnold Schwarzenegger movie was it where he defended killing all those people because they were all bad?
Yeah.
It was one with Jamie Lee Curtis, I think. Anyway, but all the ones Shadowcat killed, you can at least say, well, yeah, Orcus people have families and whatnot, but they were Orcus where Emma was flat out a villain. But I'm
pretty sure Emma killed some Orcus people. I'm pretty sure she's killed some Orcus people.
I'm sure.
Before even the Hellfire Gala attack. I would be really surprised if we didn't go back through the Greco issues and see her doing some stuff to people.
There's got to be a wiki somewhere of like every person every comic book character has ever killed. Right? I don't want to go out to lunch with the person who maintains that wiki page, but I might use it once in a while. Okay, so this month we start with a flashback. I don't need this flashback, and I don't think you probably do either, Ruben, because you and I have read the last several hundred issues of X books, and we know what Kitty did. But I guess this is supposed to, really illustrate for people who may have just jumped in on Exceptional what's going on. And really what it does is it gives the book an excuse to have an action scene when the current day plot has no reason for there to be an action scene. But it's a weird choice, I think, for the main action scene to be one where Kitty doesn't kill anybody. I would think the whole point here is to show people, oh yes, she really did kill people, and here's kind of why. But it's one where she just beats up some ninjas so that Yukio makes her a Shadowcat outfit that she can wear in comics that happened some months ago. So weird choice. And then we're shown these inset images of Junwei, Dr. Barrington, and Fei Long. Right, Junwei was the Orcus member who was connected to Colossus and Chronicler and X-Force. Dr. Barrington was like the main baddie from the Sabretooth and Exiles books. And Fei Long, of course, was high up in Orcus, but mostly connected to Tony Stark. None of them really had any Kitty interaction, and Kitty didn't kill any of them either.
I know. That was my reaction when I saw those. I was like, just...
Did I forget? Did I forget something? Let me check. Because Fei Long's still alive on Mars, as far as we know, and
being
the other two were still out there
right?
too. Right.
Yeah.
Very weird. So when we get back to the present day, we see Melee, Thao Tron. I'm gonna say the name probably 7 different ways. Maybe one of them's right. Sorry. Melee, I'm gonna call her, literally pointing a finger at Kitty while lecturing her, and then stomping out. Now Melee's the super idealistic, politically engaged one. So yeah, it's in character for her to be rigid and judgmental like this. Teenagers have a limited interaction with the world, so maybe they're kind of rigid. So that's kind of fine. The rest of the teens aren't sure what to do. They just kind of head out to think things over.
I mean, this part's good to me. I'm like, if I learned that somebody I worked with, even at work, right, like, oh yeah, I killed a bunch of people like last week or like 2 months ago, I think I would have concerns with working with them, right? That would be pretty shocking.
Well,
so at this point, I'm on board.
It depends at where you're working. Like if I joined the Marines and then I found out that my drill instructor killed somebody,
I'm talking about my actual job,
right? But Melee here is trying to become like kid. She knows Kitty's on the X-Men, right, and that's not quite the Marines, but it's also not a regular office job, so it shouldn't be that shocking.
Interesting argument. Yeah,
all I'm getting at. So now we head off into the B plot of the issue, also connected to Melee. I'm going to call her Melee because I feel less weird trying to pronounce the name. She has a younger cousin named Ellie, who's also a mutant, and not one of those mutants you can kind of pass in regular society. Now, Ruben, did you ever read any of those like juvenile novels called Animorphs? Remember those? Well, they're famous for their covers, and their covers are all about kids like starting as a kid and then multiple images of them transforming into some kind of an animal.
Okay.
So Ellie looks like halfway through one of those transformations, right? Like she started transforming to a stegosaurus, got stuck halfway.
Yeah.
We don't know if she has any like abilities to go with this or if she just kind of has a tail. Maybe she can whack people with her tail, but she doesn't seem to be enjoying her mutation. And some of the kids at school are giving her a hard time, which kids will do that. So Ellie asks her older cousin to come to school with her and, talk to those kids. And her cousin does so, and it goes just about as badly as you might imagine, maybe worse. Now, Melee's a complete idiot about this. Now, I know her interaction with Kitty is dumb, but understandably dumb. Yeah. This seems like too dumb, right?
Agreed.
She just picks 3 kids out at random and starts threatening them like middle schoolers.
Yes.
She can't think that'll be a good look.
No.
So, doesn't help her cousin at all. Ellie's just more embarrassed than ever. But better late than never, I guess. She actually finally talks to Ellie about what's going on. And as part of this conversation, she realizes, I also probably should have given Kitty a second chance and not stormed away from there either. Which, the connection there, I guess E-viewing makes the case, but it's a little tenuous.
It seems very tenuous to me. I thought this whole thing was poorly handled.
Now, the result is that she returns back to the team, and we're just kind of back at our original status quo, which makes this whole character arc just kind of go in a circle.
Yeah.
So it didn't really do anything. Oh, and by the way, she also, Melee was a character who got to do the fourth wall-breaking monologue bit this time. So I guess everybody's going to get to do that.
Yes.
I don't know that we need that, but I guess it's good for a book to have its own identity and do things a little bit differently. So I guess it's all right. Now, in the final panel, we see that Cousin Ellie is so desperate to be normal to fit in that she's swabbing her cheek to send a DNA sample in to the folks who run that Verite app that we first saw on the bonus page of Exceptional #1. And Ellie, I don't think that's going to turn out to be such a good idea. But yeah, that was the ending there is actually, to me, the best part of the issue, right? I like Ellie. I think she's one of the more interesting characters here. A little kid dealing with the mutation that makes her look so different from everybody else. That's a pretty interesting character. So I hope it works out well for her, but I think she's going to have kind of a rough time. So what did you think of this, Ruben? Besides, it's bad enough that you've literally canceled your subscription.
Yeah, they could win me back. It doesn't seem like anything's happening. I think I was really annoyed about the character arc of, it starts out with this big drama of, I'm quitting the team, I don't trust you, and then, okay, I'm okay with you. Let's get to it.
Yeah, and you would think that at least you don't have to show Kitty explaining everything that happened and why she made her choices, but at least show that happened at some point, right?
Yeah.
Come back in with a ... and that's why I did what I did, sort of a thing, just to show the conversation happened, because that conversation has to happen.
Yeah.
So do you have a score for this book here?
I'm going to give it a 6.
That's exactly where I am.
It's fine. It's just, yeah. And the Fei Long thing really annoys me.
Yeah. I guess she didn't really... Did Kitty kill any, like, name brand characters? I mostly remember her just slaughtering Orcus mooks.
Yeah. I don't even remember what happened to Barrington or Junwei, to be honest with you. I recognize them.
They're
but
still alive, at least according to the wikis. I don't remember them dying, and I think they're still out there, but I don't know.
What? I mean, what's up with this panel of her like sitting on a Japanese rooftop, and then you see like each of those three people apparently like in some sort of distress?
That whole fight was like the origin story of her Shadowcat outfit post Hellfire Gala. It's almost like, when the Star Wars movies, how they explain how Han Solo got that little dice thing in his. I don't care, but yeah, it is weird. I don't know what that sword going through a wall means. I don't know. I guess that's Dr. Barrington. Are we supposed to think that like Dr. Barrington was killed by
hunted down and killed by Shadowcat
off panel?
Yeah, that's what it suggests.
Or
right?
They're just hiding from her, and they think they're terrified that they will be killed by her or might be killed by her. Because
I don't know.
Fei Long, because Fei Long, we saw him alive well after she stopped doing the Shadowcat thing. So
she kept it up one last time.
Oh boy. What one final mission before retirement?
Yeah.
Well, next issue, Ruben, the only kind of hope I have is that next issue, it looks like we're going to get to meet Sheldon Xenos.
Yeah.
Now, the solicit says that he's the guy behind the Verite app, so he obviously likes collecting mutant DNA.
Yeah,
his initials are SX, SX, and the cover of issue 7, as we saw, his shadow sure looks like he's wearing a very distinctive cape.
Yes.
So obviously, Sheldon Xenos is going to be Nathaniel Essex, Mr. Sinister, one of the very best characters of the Krakoan era.
Yep.
Boy, I hope that he makes this book better and that this book doesn't make his character worse.
Yeah. So, I mean, this very well could become my favorite book, and like suddenly I'll resubscribe and get the back issues, right?
Could be.
He has the power to do that if it's written well.
Yeah, so that's our hope, is that Mr. Sinister comes and gives this book kind of a kick in the pants. And I've been saying a while now, what this book needs is a good villain.
Yeah.
And gosh, he's pretty much the best villain. So there is some hope here. We will be reading and continue reviewing Exceptional X-Men when it comes out again next week. But let's move on now to another of the bigger books this week, which is Storm number 4, Legacy number 15. So funny. A Flame in the Wind, written by Morewa Ayodele, art by Lucas Wernick, colors by Alex Guimaraes and Fer Cifuentes Sujo, letters by Travis Lanham. So, Ruben, this continues to be just a beautifully drawn book.
Yeah.
Now, listeners, if you're not reading this, and if you've ever dreamed of owning a comic page showing Aurora Monroe in her undergarments, this is the issue for you. I can't imagine there ever has been or will be a lovelier comic portrait of what I just described than what Lucas Wernick draws here. I know that's not why I come to comics, but objectively, it's really well done.
Yeah. This book is winning me over. I'm actually, I wasn't that impressed early on and was kind of annoyed with, showing the unbeatable Storm, which is one of the tropes I just can't stand. But we're starting to see that she's not unbeatable and she has flaws. And
well, at least for now.
Yes. I understand the ending. I understand the ending. But I don't know. There's something about it that it's starting to win me over. Showing
her make mistakes is, just like that's why Spider-Man is kind of the best comic book character, or at least the best Marvel character, right? We know he's going to screw up, but we empathize with him and we know he's going to stick with it and win in the end. So just remind everybody of where we are. Storm suffered radiation poisoning in issue number 1. Would have died if not for Dr. Voodoo making a deal with an ancient spirit named Egon. Not Ogun. Ogun was a ninja. Egon is this spirit. And I'm probably saying it all wrong because it has like multiple lines over some of the vowels, and I don't know what those lines mean, so I'm just going with Egon. In return for this help, Storm has been charged to not use her mutant abilities for 7 days. Now, she didn't agree to this herself, but I guess Dr. Voodoo had power of attorney in that moment. Magical law is not my specialty.
Yes, okay.
Now, at this point, Storm has been summoned to appear before Sorcerer Supreme, Dr. Doom, and she's ridden to Latveria on the back of a giant magical talking Guillemot. I love that sentence. She has 1 more day remaining of not supposed to use her mutant powers. Gee, I wonder what's going to happen. We begin this issue with Storm arriving in Latveria, preparing for a formal dinner with the God Emperor. A few omniscient or semi-omniscient, we'll talk about that too, some narration boxes compare her actions to how dead bodies are prepared for burial, reminding us that despite her radiation sickness being healed, Dr. Voodoo still saw death in her very near future. Now, Iodelli has been using these pale purple narration boxes throughout the series, and while I think I've complained about them a bit, I don't like omniscient narration boxes in general. Later on, we find out that these aren't just omniscient third-person narrator boxes. They do come from a particular place, which I like, and we'll get there. I do think it's a lot of fun that the bag Storm uses to hold her dress says property of Anna Marie, because that's Rogue, of course. And last issue, we even saw Storm ask Rogue to lend her a dress and some concealable weapons.
Yeah.
So I like that the art just shows us that, and we don't need any dialogue reminding us. We can feel clever for remembering what happened last issue. And then the dress itself is Rogue's signature green and black color scheme. And once again, it looks amazing. No complaints at all about the art. So now it's time for my dinner with Doomsy. There are only 2 courses, kind of a brief dinner, but they have business to get to. First course is a seafood gumbo that happens to match Storm's father's recipe, and she likes this dish. And the second course, we're right to dessert. Doom says that this dessert is a metaphor for the mutant experience, and he compares mutants to someone named Antaeus. Now, Ruben, do you happen to be an expert on ancient Greek mythology? Well, me either, but I do know how to Google.
It's like an exhaustive deep dive.
So, briefly...
It's like an exhaustive
it got
deep
stuck.
dive.
I hate when there's that.
It's like
Okay, shut up, Matt. So, Antaeus,
Thanks,
he
Matt.
was the son of Poseidon. He's actually right here behind me. That was live. That was not on tape. Antaeus was the son of Poseidon and Gaia, the earth itself. And his deal was he was a really good wrestler. He challenged his opponents to wrestle to the death, and he always won. His secret was that every time his opponents would knock him to the ground, his mother, the earth itself, would give him even more strength. So that's why Doom is using him to talk about mutants. They get knocked down, but, to quote noted British philosophers Chumbawamba, they get up again. Antaeus, so that was how that metaphor works. And, as a little throwaway line, that's the kind of thing Doom would say. So I kind of like that and thought it was worth a Google.
That is good. Yeah.
Okay, so back to the dessert. Storm takes one bite, and this time she makes a pouty face and a yucky noise. I would have thought that Storm would have been, more well-mannered than that.
Yes.
Right? You're at a diplomatic dinner with Dr. Freaking Doom. How bad could the dessert be that you can't go, oh, yum, this is nice? She should know better.
I think what she was trying to do is to, shame him, right? Because he always has this thing of, everything I have is the best, right? And he's obviously showing off with his opulence, and she's trying to be like, your dessert's not that great. Which would be a nice way to really slap him down, right? But she she doesn't predict.
Why would she do that now when she went? She went to his little dinner. She got all dolled up for dinner. It seems
this is right after he's like, oh, you need to work for me, basically. And she doesn't like that, right? She kind of gets angry about that. But
that's a reading I hadn't considered, but I'll think about that. So.
Because she has the whole, I don't know. She basically, right after this, saves the waiter, right? Or the chef.
Yeah, so let's talk about that.
You can't make mutants Doom's people, blah, blah, blah.
Sure. So Doom's feelings are hurt by her dislike of the dessert. And he brings the chef in to be executed right there on the dining room table. Now, this chef looks kind of a little bit like Brian Michael Bendis, which when I wrote that in my notes, I thought, hey, I've written that before. And back in issue number 1 of this same series, there was an ex-Orcus guy saved by Storm and Frenzy from that whole disaster, and he looked kind of a bit like Brian Michael Bendis. So I posted those pages side by side in the Weird Science Slack, which you can access by becoming a member at patreon.com/weirdscience. And yeah, they sure do look like the same guy, don't they?
Yeah.
So did the Orcus guy from issue number 1 then go get a job being a dessert chef for Dr. Doom?
Yeah.
That's kind of fun.
Career change.
Now, Bendis used to do a thing where he would write himself into issues, usually in a comedic, not so flattering way. Like he shows himself getting arrested in Defenders number 9. So I thought maybe it's just carrying on that tradition. I don't know that Iodelli or Wernick have either worked with Bendis before. So I don't know that would be connected, but I was curious. So I tweeted out the screenshots and the questions and, added Morewa Iodelli himself. He's active on Twitter. And he replied, which is kind of cool. Didn't really clear things up, though. He just said, quote, "Now I want to see him everywhere, like the Cabbage Man in Avatar: The Last Airbender." So maybe this is Lucas Wernick putting it in there. Maybe Iodelli himself hadn't noticed this.
Yeah.
But yeah, if this
You might have
character
started
keeps showing
something.
up, if he keeps showing up, I'm going to take credit for it.
Yes.
So that's it. And like I said in the Slack, I haven't actually seen Avatar: The Last Airbender, so I don't know who the Cabbage Man is, but I can imagine a background character who's
that
always
shows
popping up in random places. I get the concept. So maybe that's it. Okay, where were we? Yeah, right. Storm didn't like the dessert, made a yucky face, and now Doom's going to have the chef executed. Now, Storm's not going to sit still for this, so she throws knives at the executioner and at Doomsday himself. These were the knives we saw her tuck into her lingerie when she was getting ready. Doom notes that, hey, Storm, you didn't use your mutant powers to do this. You didn't use your mutant powers to fly to Latveria. I think that you've lost your mutant powers, and I'll just give them back to you. So now Storm gets angry at the presumption of, hey, Doomsday's going to do this for me, and that's what pushes her over the edge, makes her lose her cool, and now she starts crackling with electricity. Mutant electricity, which violates her probation or parole or whatever we call it. And so that spirit, Egan, he arrives to dish out consequences, and he is a very creepy-looking dude. What did you think of his character design here?
It's a good spirit design, and this is probably one of the reasons I like this issue and enjoy this series in general. Like, the magical creatures look magical, and kind of comes out of a portal and impales her.
I believe he's African-inspired. I don't know a whole lot about African mythology, and I don't even know what to Google for it. So, probably, I'm going to guess this is based on something more specific that I don't know about, but very cool looking. And I like how he kind of appears through like a crack in reality, very otherworldly, very, makes him seem not just like some mook, but somebody kind of creepy. So he stabs Aurora to death with his giant claws in about half a second. So, book over, title canceled, right? Lucas Wernick going on to some other title? No, of course not. Storm has a post-death experience talking to her dad, which is pretty sweet, actually. And then on the penultimate page of the issue, Eternity shows up. Now that's, the cosmic character, force of nature, Eternity. And now we find out, and this is pretty cool, that Eternity has been the one speaking to us through those pale purple narration boxes. I like that. It shows that there was a plan all along, and if you go back and read them, you can see why, from his perspective, he knows the past and the future. He's Eternity. Makes sense. He says, "Death is not the end, just a metamorphosis. Storm of the earth is no more. In her place there will be something new, something more beautiful. My eternal Storm." So then he resurrects her, and she immediately murders Egon to death with lightning bolts and what looks like hard light constructs of spears or something. So that's where the issue ends, with Storm being powered up, having these new powers, new abilities. And, Ruben, I can't shake a feeling of like deja vu. Like I may have seen something similar before. Does this ring any bells to you? A powerful female character dies, is resurrected by Eternity with strange new additional powers.
Are you saying this is like Phoenix?
I'm saying it's exactly like Phoenix, right? It happens at almost exactly the same place in each book.
Yeah.
In Phoenix, Jean dies at the end of issue 4, was resurrected with bonus Eternity powers at the beginning of issue 5. Here in Storm, it's just a tiny bit faster, with Storm both dying and being resurrected, with bonus Eternity powers, both at the end of issue 4. Now, boy, I hope that this is a plan, that there's been some discussion with editorial, that, Eternity is doing a thing and not just two writers independently drafting Eternity into making their character super duper powerful.
Yeah.
Do you think there's a plan? I hope there's a plan.
There has to be a plan. It's
Now,
less obnoxious in this, though. I don't know why, but maybe just a better writer handling it. I like the way
is better.
Yeah.
Now, after I put my notes together, I did see a mention in Tom Brevoort's blog just yesterday. A reader points out that, hey, Eternity looked different in these two appearances, and asked, is that the same Eternity? And Tom Brevoort said, yeah, the same Eternity, as you will see clearly in Storm number 5.
Interesting.
So if there's going to be a connection shown, a plan all along, we should see it in the next issue of Storm. So I hope so. Again, I get nervous about a character being made super, super, super powerful, because I don't know that makes for good storytelling, right? It's good to be powerful. It's not always good to read about the most powerful character.
We'll see. I don't mind the ramping up here. Like, I still feel like she's not, like, she's been brought up to par with some of these godly type beings, and if that's who she's fighting, I'm okay with it.
Maybe it'll be temporary. I don't mind temporary.
I don't expect
it's going to be this
her
big
to
battle.
be like this forever. It would be pretty annoying.
Okay. Where, like, Phoenix clearly is supposed to be now, as far as we can tell, Phoenix is supposed to be now and forever until somebody changes it, super duper powerful, but we'll see. I mean, so to wrap up, because we know we got to wrap up, some cool stuff happens in this issue. Just the idea of Storm having dinner with Dr. Doom is fun. I saw some old art posted on Twitter of previous times she's interacted with Dr. Doom, and, they have an occasional relationship in that sense. Design of Egan, very cool. Kind of a shame that he seems to have been killed off in his first appearance. Wouldn't mind seeing him again. The bits with Storm and her dad were cute. Daughter-dad stuff. I like that. Would have liked for Storm using her powers to be more of a deliberate choice, kind of like how in Gods we saw someone forced to do a thing they weren't supposed to do, rather than just, it seemed like an accident, like her injured pride she couldn't control herself anymore. I thought it would have been, better done the other way. But hey, my concerns about Storm being too powerful going forward, I'm not going to hold against this issue. Those are just concerns for the future. This is like the very best art coming out of Marvel today, plus a visual joke that I'm going to interpret as making fun of Brian Michael Bendis, so that's bonus points. Put that together, I'll give Storm number 4 a 7.8 out of 10. Pretty fun. How about you?
Very cool. I'm at 7.5, so we're in the same ballpark for those reasons, but I haven't quite gotten to the level of like wanting to subscribe to this series yet, but there seems to be a point to it, and I'm kind of enjoying it more than I was initially, so it's winning me over. And
great art, and having another author showing up in Marvel and doing some cool things from a different perspective, absolutely like that. So Moreira Ayodele, look forward to reading more of what he does in the future in Storm and for other places too.
I think he's doing a very good job with the cosmic entities, which are often difficult to, handle. Like, they seem mysterious, but yet I kind of see what they're doing, right? They get rules established and then they kind of react within that context. So I enjoy that.
So far, so good. I think it gets more difficult when he makes his character more powerful, and we'll see what happens. So the next 2 issues of Storm are both tie-in issues. Storm number 5 is a tie-in to the One World Under Doom event happening across Marvel. And then Storm number 6 is part 3 of that X-Manhunt crossover within the X-Office. And Storm 7 will be a celebration of the character's 50th anniversary, so hey, expect to pay an extra $1 or $2 for Storm in April, because that's how we do things in Marvel. Well, those are the books we're going to talk about today. Rogue the Savage Land was kind of fun. That's a flashback book being told in the past. It's being written by Tim Seeley. Kind of cool if you like that kind of thing. We may talk about, again, when it comes up to issue 2. Laura Kinney Wolverine, didn't care for. I don't think I think it's a very standard action-adventure book, just not written particularly well. And Laura Kinney has made such a flat, boring character in that. If you want Laura Kinney, she's actually being written much better in NYX, despite some other qualms I have about that series. So if you want her, go to NYX. Next week, we have 4 books on our docket. We have Phoenix number 7. We have Wolverine number 2, which I'm really looking forward to. Love me some silly Wolverine nonsense. We have Mystique number 4, and I've said so many good things about Mystique already that I'm not even going to bother saying more about that. Love Mystique. And we have Uncanny number 9, which should be the fallout of what we just saw happen in that Gray Malkin crossover bit. So, some fun things to talk about next week. So, Ruben, after our listeners all now have to go get dumplings because you made them sound so good, what else can they do with their precious time?
Eat more dumplings. Read more X-Men comics.
Weird science.
It's like an exhaustive deep dive.
Weird science.
It's like
It rhymes with
exhaustive deep dive.
X-Men.
It's like an exhaustive deep dive.
Shut up, Matt.
It's like an